So it appears that Julen Lopetegui is starting to run out of road at West Ham because the club now see the Everton game on Saturday as a must-win for him. And that's coming from ExWHUEmployee, and that's also coming from the top level at the football club. So the patience is very much running thin now with him, and rightly so, because that Nottingham Forest performance was yet another shambolic display by West Ham, and it just adds to the list of many others. And you know what? It's not going to be the last. You get the feeling under Lopetegui, unless obviously, of course, he's let go soon, which also wouldn't be a surprise. And to be honest with you, I've got to the point now where I feel that it'd probably be the best solution for the club now, because I just don't see Lopetegui turning the situation around. We'll talk about this in a bit more detail. I just want to clear up a couple of things. So I did a video yesterday following the loss, and one of my comments was that West Ham possessed more quality in the side than Nottingham Forest, and people reacted to that and saying, well, how can you say that? They've just beaten us, and how disrespectful. And I really want to make it really clear that it was supposed to be a compliment, actually, to Nottingham Forest. I really admire what they're doing. I think they're just a great side. I'm really impressed with Nuno, how he's just settled into that team and got them very well balanced and playing so well. My point was, look at the players West Ham have got at their disposal. You've got an England international, you've got a Brazilian international, you've got Edson Alvarez, you've got Todibo, you've got Kudus. Oh, I know Kudus wasn't playing yesterday, but I'm just talking more in general. That was my point. Look at the players West Ham at their disposal and look at the players at Nottingham Forest. And again, not having a go at Nottingham Forest, got some great players, but it was just the amount of money we've spent on this squad. That's all it was. And I was just trying to suggest that, well, basically say that Nottingham Forest have been amazing and have done so well. And West Ham should be doing better. It should be doing better, but it wasn't meant to be a dig at Forest at all. It was supposed to be actually a compliment for how well they're doing. And I just think it's, you know, they fully deserved it. Absolutely fully deserved the win. And good luck to them. Really good luck to them, because they've been outstanding so far this season. And, you know, it puts us to shame, really. But you look at it, West Ham, you just think, well, you know, it was just like a stark contrast. I was watching yesterday, just such a well-organised team in Nottingham Forest, and players knowing what their jobs are, a clear instruction. Lopetegui talked about this going into the game. He talked about it in a press conference about Nottingham Forest. He was paying them a compliment. And one of his comments was about the clear instructions from Nuno to his players. I couldn't quite understand what he was, you know, it's almost like he's called himself out in that, you know, because he mentioned before about the fact that he's got communication issues with his team. I no bloody wonder. No wonder. I mean, have you heard Lopetegui talk in his press conferences? I mean, I don't know what he's talking about. He talks, and I don't know what he's referring to half the time. I'm thinking you've gone off on a tangent here. You're answering a question that wasn't asked. You're just going off on this weird route. No wonder the players are bloody confused. Can you imagine listening to this guy in a dressing room and he's telling you what you've got to do? They're probably scratching their heads going, and you can see that in West Ham's performances. You can just see that the players don't know what they're supposed to be doing. We look totally and utterly lost. I saw that, actually. I felt that with the first goal. The marking, and you could just see the confusion around who's marking who. It's just a muddled approach. I mean, it's really strange, right? I'll come into this video. I want to talk about, obviously, the update from ExWHUEmployee is what I'm here to really mainly do. But I'm still so pissed off, you know what I mean? Usually after a night's sleep, you can settle down a bit, and then you can have a bit of a calmer approach to the situation and feel, okay, you know, maybe it's not as bad as I first felt it was. But it's actually, if anything, it's got worse, you know what I mean? Because I'm reading more about this and looking at our form and watch back, obviously, the highlights of the game again, and it's just shocking. Like, it is absolutely shocking how bad things are getting. And there is no evidence to suggest that Lopetegui is going to turn the situation around. I've really got to make sure I put a disclaimer in what I'm about to say, because people are going to say that I'm calling for David Moyes to return. I'm really not, okay? I really want to make it very clear. I'm not suggesting the club go and appoint David Moyes as manager, okay? I want to just make that really clear. And it was the right time to David Moyes to leave his job. Let's get it straight. Last season, West Ham were appalling in the Premier League. We were getting battered. And the season before that, even though we won the Conference League, we were appalling in the Premier League that season. David Moyes' time at the club was up, okay? This form in the league is not new. This is something that's been going on and on and on for some time, but we're getting worse. Since Lopetegui's come in, we're getting worse. My point is about David Moyes, though. when the club stood by him when things weren't going well, there was a confidence that he would keep West Ham up. There was confidence within the hierarchy of the club that David Moyes will sort this situation out. We won't go down under David Moyes. Now, as frustrating as it would have been at the time, and it was at the time, because obviously you want to see your club do better. You don't want to be stuck in a relegation battle, especially the way we want to be. We want to be in the top half challenging, right? But my point is, there was evidence there for David Moyes. There was evidence to go, okay, but we're not going to sack Moyes, though, because we've got enough evidence to show us that he actually will get us the results. He will get the points on the ball to get us out of this situation. And they'd be right. Because you could go, they could argue that case and you go, well, yeah, you do have a fair point. He's been here before. He's got out of relegation battles before. He's done it. We're quite confident that we're not going to go down a path here to possibly getting relegated. By the way, again, I don't think we're going to get relegated this season. My point is, there was evidence there. The difficulty they've got with Lopetegui is you've got no evidence. You've got nothing to go on other than maybe previous football clubs. But again, that's kind of not is irrelevant, really, in a sense, because you could say, well, it was different circumstances. I'm talking about being at West Ham. There's no evidence from this football club to go, yeah, but we know Lopetegui can get us out of this. There's nothing. There's no reason for them to be confident. I'm going to come to the ExWHU employee update in a sec on the situation, all right? But Sean Whetstone's put up a tweet this morning on West Ham Football on his X page, right? And it says about that the club are confident. The hierarchy at the moment are confident that he's going to turn the situation around. Why would you be confident? Like, what evidence have you got to go, I'm really confident this guy's going to turn this around? I don't buy that. I'm not buying that the club are feeling any confidence at all, because there's nothing to feel. There's nothing there to suggest that there's a reason for optimism and confidence to be there. I don't believe that. I actually feel that it's actually the club hierarchy, and in particular David Sullivan, who appointed Lopetegui, with egg on their face, and they're just hoping the situation is going to turn around. It's more like, it's not going to look good on me if this fails, so I'm just going to stick by him, hoping this is going to turn around. That's actually what I think it's more to do with, rather than we're confident of this guy turning the situation around. Because I've got no confidence in this guy now. None. And I really want to make it clear as well, right? I want him to prove me wrong. I'd much rather West Ham now go and batter Everton ahead of the international break, come back, get a result against Newcastle, go and beat Arsenal, and then suddenly things start looking great and the players start playing for him. I'd love that to happen, right? But I'm sure it won't. I'm sure it won't. Because there's nothing to... I've got no evidence and nothing there for me to believe that that's going to be the case. Because West Ham, let's get it right, we are regressing. We are not pushing forward. There is no evidence to suggest that we're pushing forward. This club is sliding. The performance against Nottingham Forest was absolutely shocking. It was awful. I mean, awful performance. But it wasn't an awful performance in terms of, the players just aren't playing for the manager. I actually think the players are trying. That's the thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. They've got the discipline's an issue. We'll come to that in a second. So again, Edson Alvarez. But it's not as if the players aren't trying. You can just see they're just so confused about what on earth we're trying to do here. Why on earth, right, would you go and beat Man United in a second half performance? First half was terrible. Second half, he put out a team and we looked all right. We played much better in the second half against Man United. Why would you change it? Why would you then go into the next game with such a different philosophy when already your poxy philosophy is already confusing? It just makes no sense at all. He's playing players, again, out of position and playing the best player that he had out of position in the last game. You've got Somerville, who's a left winger, right? Comes on against Man United to play on the left wing, plays his performance of the season so far, gets a goal, his confidence is up. So I know what I'll do. I'll move him away from the left wing in the next game and play him more inside, so allow Emerson to play the left wing. Why would you do that? Like, what planet are you living on to thinking that that's going to be the way to go here? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all. It just does. You cannot get it around your head why you would do that. It's just baffling. And I just couldn't work out the system yesterday. I'm watching. I just could not work out what this guy's tactics are. I don't understand it. And you can just see by the way the players are behaving and communicating with each other or whatever. And you can just see that they're in the same boat. They're just like, we don't know what we're doing. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I don't see any light for him. I don't see any suggestion that this guy is going to turn the situation around. There's nothing there. And it's a once again cheap appointment from this football club yet again that's once again biting again because they just do not seem to ever learn. They never ever seem to learn from previous mistakes. It's just let's just keep repeating the same rinse repeat. They just don't learn. It's so bad. I mean, it's so bad. And yesterday was a real low moment, actually, I think. And do you know what? I don't know. If, I get the feeling that if we're going to have more of Lopetegui going forward, let's just say that Lopetegui survives until Christmas. Let's just suggest that's going to be the case, right? Because I don't think he's going to stay out this season. That's my gut feeling. I think regardless of what happens, I think come May, we won't have Lopetegui in charge. I think at some point, by the end of the season, we'll have another manager or a temporary manager, whatever it'll be. I don't believe he'll be in charge. That's just my gut feeling. And, you know, I could be wrong. And look, as I've said earlier in the video, right, I hope I'm wrong. But there's no evidence, is there, to suggest. And I feel like if he does stay on, we're going to see worse. Do you know what I mean? We're going to get more hammer-ins. We're going to have more terrible performances like this because it just seems to be like a running theme. Like he just doesn't know how to set up his team. He just doesn't have a clue of what to do. And I was saying this yesterday to a couple of people. It's like the message from Lopetegui appears to be just too confusing. Like I don't understand why he's not just stripping it back to a basic system of football with the idea of thinking eventually I'll then start making tweaks once they're settled into this team. I don't know why you would come into a new team with all new players and try this elaborate system that clearly these players are just not grasping. Why don't you just play a system that's more suited and simple? Play players, you know, round pegs and round holes, that kind of thing, you know? A left wing, play a left winger. Right wing, play a right wing. I know Jared Bowen, you know, plays a right wing, played really well against Man United, best performance. I know, I'll make him a striker. Why would you do that? Like, why in your brain would you go, the man of the match last game, I'm going to take him and move him from where he plays in his best position? Play a fucking right winger on the right wing. Play a left wing on the left wing. Do you know what I mean? Left back at left back, right. Just play them in their positions. At least then they know their fucking role. Do you know what I mean? You haven't got to overcomplicate it. Just say, right, look, this is it. Back four, right back, left back. You know what I mean? Keep it simple. And then maybe then once things start to settle down and you're getting results and you're grinding some results out, you can then start to implement some different ideas. A few little tweaks to your team to say, look, you know, actually I've thought of a different method of playing. Surely that would be a better route to go than rather come in and just try to confuse these players. I mean, yes, I think that's what's done me more than anything is the fact that we've coming off the back of a win over Manchester United in a second half performance. Don't get me wrong, Man United, we got away with it because the first half we were awful, but the second half we were a better team. But surely to God, though, like if you walk off the pitch after playing the second half against Man United and getting, you know, 2 goals and winning the game, you would come off the pitch and think, right, that's my team now for a while. That's the system I'm going to play for a while. I granted that you're playing other opposition, so you might have to tweak things a bit. I get that. But why would you make fundamentally massive changes when you've just seen your team play okay and, you know, get a decent result? I mean, I wouldn't even change anything. I'd say, right, okay, that is the team. Okay, he was forced to make a couple of changes. Souček was ill, so he had to... I get that, and I'm not having a go at him for any of that. But to play Bowen as a striker made no sense at all. And even when Antonio came on, he was still striker. Honestly, it's mental. Absolutely mental. And then, of course, like I was going to say, a discipline situation. Absolutely shocking. Like, just awful discipline. It was just... It's shut. I mean, we've got now. Well, we were lucky yesterday to have. We could have ended that game with 8 men. Genuinely could have had 3 sending offs in that game. And I'm actually quite concerned that Somerville was going to get pulled in. So obviously Edson Alvarez deserved to get sent off. It's disgusting. I mean, his attitude is disgraceful as far as I'm concerned. And Lopetegui can try his best to hang his, that's the reason he lost the game. That's rubbish. But still, it was not helpful at all. Bad time in the game as well, right before half time. Do you know what I mean? Get sent off. And he knew he was going to get sent off. A total lack of discipline. That's back on and he got sent off, didn't he, against Liverpool? So that's now 2 red cards for him this season, which is disgusting. You've got Mohamed Kudus punching the lights out of loads of Spurs players. Usually, you know what I mean? Get that. London Derby gets stuck in, but ridiculous. And now could be facing a 5-6 campaign. We don't even know how long. We're going to find out this week. Rodriguez should have got sent off yesterday. Could have got sent off. I thought he was going to get sent off. I just thought he's going to go. And luckily got away with it. And then the Somerville. Clearly kicked out. Clearly kicked that guy in the back of his head. Can't remember who it kicked now. Top of my head. No pun intended. But he did. Kicked the back of his head. He goes down. He really follows through his foot. You could see he's frustrated and pissed off. And you can just, you know what I mean? You can see it straight away. He got away with that as a red card. And he could get pulled back for that. I mean, he may get away with it, but I wouldn't be surprised. If they said they're going to look into that, that's a 3-game ban. It's just showing a total frustration within this squad. I really don't want to keep ranting about this. Let's go on to the news anyway. Let's talk about the interesting bit, which is from ExWHUEmployee. So he said, this morning a top source at the club was asked about what the manager's future holds, and he replied with the following: we are still 100% behind the manager, but results need to improve. Then the interesting bit, there was an article. The sources also added Everton is considered a must-win game. So if West Ham are to draw or lose against Everton, I think if he draws it, it'd be all right. If he loses against Everton, and especially if he loses badly, if we've got another 3-0 on our hands, let's just say, I don't think he can survive. I genuinely don't. I think he would struggle to survive, especially as we get an international break. That's my feeling. I do feel like the club are now losing patience with him. I think they've got to be serious concerns. There's real problems at this football club. We know that there's been an absolute relationship breakdown between him and Tim Steidten. There's finger pointing going on. There's going to be more of that this week. My God, there's going to be more of that this week. We're going to get... I can guarantee you there will be ITKs across, into like maybe Fabrizio Romano's or etc. Flattenberg, that will message something this week about his future. The West Ham are looking at other managers and all that. That's going to come because they're going to want to. The pressure's now on Lopetegui 100%, and it's suiting. That suits Steidten. It suits Sullivan. It doesn't really suit Sullivan. It suits Steidten because Steidten's not looking good at the moment either. Because they're going to be going, we've spent all this money on these players, and we're just not seeing anything at the moment. I mean, a few of the players are stepping up. I mean, Somerville looks a great player as far as I'm concerned, and I like Wan-Bissaka. I think he's been a good player for us. There's a few signs of promise, but I mean, come on, things are not looking good overall. Really not. And it just sets us up for another really bleak week, doesn't it? Going into this Everton game now, the pressure's massively on the club. And like many now, I'm at a loss now as to where we're going. I don't see a positive outcome for this with Lopetegui. I just do not see it. As I say, I was hoping, after a night's sleep, maybe the dust would settle down and you can sort of stand back and go, okay, there's things to be a little bit more optimistic about. There's things to maybe don't throw the toys out the pram. But I just feel like there isn't anything to be optimistic about with Lopetegui. There really isn't. It's a dire situation. And the club are clearly unhappy. The club are clearly worried, and so they bloody should be. But let's get this right. It's on them. They appointed him. David Sullivan appointed this guy. You know what I mean? We could have had Amorim. And this is the other thing. If Amorim goes to Manchester United now and starts delivering, if he turns that club around and starts getting them playing, my God, can you imagine it? I mean, West Ham fans are going to be absolutely furious. Going like, this ridiculous policy from our football club. We only want Premier League experienced managers. We only want players that are out, managers that are out of work. We don't pay compensation. It's just pathetic. It's pathetic. And the season's just getting from bad to worse. And, you know, this is, I'll tell you what, if West Ham go down against Everton on Saturday, the place is going to turn toxic. It's going to turn really nasty. I don't think it's going to be a way out for him. I think if we don't get a result against Everton, there is a real chance, quite clearly from what the club is saying, that could be his last game as manager of West Ham.